Okay, this is better because I'm not really good. So,
okay, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, without wasting time, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Narayanam Namaskritya, Narancheva Narottam, Devim Saraswati Vyasat, Tato Jaya Mudhiraya, Nastapayesu Bhadresu, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, Bhagavati Uttama Sloke, Bhakti Bhava Itinai. So Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 18, Text 11. Rishaya Uchu Sutaji Va Samasomya Saswati Vasadam Yasaha Yastvam Samsasi Krishnasya Machanam Amritam Hina. So, what translation? Translation and purport by His Divine Grace is Confounded Acharya, Srila Abhajam Vin Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada.
Jai.
Richaya Uchu, the good sages said, Sutta, O Sutta Goswami, Jiva, we wish you life, Samaha, many years, Somya, grave, Saraswati, eternal, Vishadam, particularly, Yasaha, in fame, Yaha Tvam, because you, Samsasi, speaking nicely, Krishnasya, of Lord Sri Krishna, Matyanam, of those who die, Amritam, eternity of life, he, certainly, Naha, our. Translation. The good sages said, O great Sutta Goswami, may you live many years and of eternal fame, for you are speaking very nicely about the activities of Lord Krishna, the personality of Godhead. This is just like nectar for mortal beings like us. Purport. When we hear about the transcendental qualities and activities of the personality of Godhead, we may always remember what has been spoken by the Lord Himself in the Bhagavad Gita 4:9. He asks, even when He acts in human society, are all transcendental. His acts, even when He acts in human society, are all transcendental, for they are all accentuated by the spiritual energy of the Lord, which is distinguished from His material energy. As stated in the Bhagavad Gita, such acts are called divyam. This means that He does not act or take His bed like an ordinary living being under the custody of material energy, nor is His body material or changeable like that of ordinary living beings. And one who understands this fact, either from the Lord or from authorized sources, is not reborn after leaving the present material body. Such an enlightened soul is admitted into the spiritual realm of the Lord and engages in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Therefore, the more we hear about the transcendental activities of the Lord, as they are stated in the Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam, the more we can know about His transcendental nature and thus make definite progress on the path back to Godhead. Om Gyana Timirandasya, Gyana Jana Salakaya, Saksoram Malitam Jain Tasmai, Sri Gurave Namaha. Suchetayam Nobistam, Tapi Tam Jena Bhuta, Swayam Rupam Kadamayam, Badati Swa Padantika. Vanchakalpatari Vyacha, Kripasanam Vyacha, Patitanam, Pavanam Vya, Vaishnavi Vya, Namo Namo, Namam Vishnu. Padaya Krishna, Prestaya Bhuta, Lisema de Bhakti Vedanta Swami Yatanam. Namaste, Sarasatadeva Gauravani, Pacharine, Nirvasesa Swami Body, Pasatya Disatara. Vandasi Krishna Chaitanya, Nityananda Sahodito, Buddhaya Puspavanto, Chita Chantamand. Jaya Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita, Gadara, Sri Vasada, Gaura Bhakti. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, this text is basically giving us an idea about appreciative thinking. The sages at Namisaraya were the audience of Suta Goswami. And they were appreciative of the fact that he was providing them with the juice of the transcendental juice of immortality. He was giving them narratives. He was presenting narratives about the pastimes of Lord Krishna. And it only takes people who are very highly elevated to appreciate high-profile spiritual values. And therefore, the sages at Namisaraya could be considered as people who are very, very enlightened. And so, because they were very, very highly spiritual and enlightened, they were enlivened about the postulations of Suta Goswami regarding the Lord and his wonderful activities. Now, the Bhagavatam basically is constituted of different dialogues. Suta Goswami is speaking to the sages of Namisaraya, Sukadeva Goswami is speaking to Parikshit Maharaj. So many different dialogues. So, in dialogue, people are engaged in conversations. And conversations means that there is a topic of conversation. And the devotees of Lord Krishna, their topic for conversation is about Krishna and his pure devotees. Krishna Lila, Krishna's pastime, Krishna Katha. Why Krishna Katha? Because there are so many different types of Katha. The Vaishnavas or the devotees of Lord Krishna, the worshippers of Lord Vishnu or Krishna, they are focused on hearing the pastimes of the Lord, because these pastimes, they purify the heart. In fact, the more we are purified at heart, the more we become attracted to Lord Krishna's pastimes. So, when the sages gathered at Namisaraya, they put forth questions before Suta Goswami, and they were, from this text, apparently very satisfied about the response of Suta Goswami. And therefore, they were expressively appreciative. The underlying principle of appreciative thinking is that when we appreciate what has been given to us, more is even given. I think they have a common, that's a very common language they use in the mundane world or in the secular world. Sometimes they say is gratitude. But in academia, basically, we refer to this as appreciative thinking. And when you have expressed appreciative thinking of something that, some help that we received from someone, the person is inclined, it's just naturally inclined to help us more. But if we don't have that type of mindset, that type of thinking pattern, or that type of behavior, or the value of really showing some sense of appreciation of what has been given to us. And how do we show the appreciation of what has been given to us? Like, for instance, we have the whole works of Srila Prabhupada. And he's written so many books. In Kali Yoga, people are not inclined in reading. And if you ask someone in Kali Yoga about what is written in his watch, he wears a watch every day. He asks him what is written in the watch, they will not be able to tell you. Majority of people will not be able to, tell you, because they wouldn't care about what is even written in the watch they're wearing every day. Because we are not interested in reading. And these days, even the lectures, the video clips have been so shortened because we're not interested in learning. We're not interested in listening. And so they make it. The technologies, they're moving just according to time to be able to satisfy the whims and caprices of the conditioned souls. So we have all these short video clips these days. 1 second, 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Because if you put up a video on YouTube that is long, I would say you want to present a defense of a thesis on YouTube, who cares? Who cares to listen? And even the listening ability of the average conditioned soul in Kali Yoga has been reduced to that of, postulations and narratives that are going to appetize the sensory modalities. Otherwise, they will not be interested. It's like someone was asking me, the question and answer in the Bhagavatam class, I think just a day or two ago, at the Russian assembly. And so one of these young ladies, she said, so if we give everything to Krishna, if we surrender everything to Krishna, we surrender all of our intelligence, our senses, and everything to Krishna, then what is left for us? What is left for us? And it's a very sincere question. We are so much afraid, even to listen. We're thinking, we will listen to this lecture, oh my God, they will change my mind. I want to clinch on onto, these sensory modalities. By the sages of Namisaraya, although they had the bitter truth from Sutta Goswami, they were very appreciated. And so it is important for us to understand that the Vedic literatures that we are distributing every day, they are also meant for us to digest and implement in our own lives to be able to have the required benefits. And then the ultimate benefit is that we dedicate our lives to Krishna in his devotional service so that we can become completely purified, or at least purified to some degree, that we don't have to come again into this material world to experience the challenges that we are already exposed to. So, appreciative thinking. In fact, this is one of the major problems that is hampering so much of rapid progress in most of our yatras, because instead of having appreciative thinking of what someone has done, we are thinking, why him or why her? Why she? Why not me? I should do better. But you never did better. It's just that we're not having appreciative thinking. But the acharyas, they have appreciative thinking. They found what we have to glow to full-size blazing fire. And so, because they appreciate our values, they look at the essential of our soft spots and fan that spark so that it glows into a blazing fire. That is a typical case of the sense of appreciation of the pure souls. So we find, like, the spiritual master engages the disciples in different ways, because they are up to appreciation of the values that the devotees around them have. And so they seek out for those essential values, those soft spots, and found that. And then that becomes a blazing fire. And so someone may be thinking, well, I am the best. As soon as we begin to think I'm the best, we're actually seriously in trouble. Because a devotee does not think that they are the best. And that basically is a Duryodhana mindset. So it is important for us to figure out what each and everyone else is doing and be able to act like a complementary tool to the sustainability of that project. In that way, we are directly and indirectly helping in propagating Lord Chaitanya's mission. The number of devotees there in your region, they're doing very, very, very nicely. So instead of looking at the faults, instead of looking at what is not valuable, we should appreciate what we have and fan the sparks and encourage, motivate those devotees more, so that the qualities that they have could blossom more and more and become like a useful forest fire for all and sundry. Yeah, it's so easy to complain about what we don't have, and it's very difficult to appreciate what we have. But let's take a cue from the sages of Namisaraya. And that cue is that of appreciative mindset. And so it is important that as we engage in our devotional service, we recognize in principle that other people have values, they have skills, they have talents, and especially the management should see how they are trained. People are trained up in talent management. In ISKCON, and what I've seen also in the totality of ISKCON is that there's a deficiency, a serious deficiency in talent management. So, and this might make no meaning to someone who is not having any adept information culture in the management sciences. But look around and you will find in the Prabhupada's time, because of his sense of appreciation for the quality of his devotees. I remember, I think I mentioned this case before. Prabhupada went to Atlanta, Georgia, in America, and at that time, Sadhuputta has just joined. Sadhuputta is one of our late scientists. He has a PhD in one of the science fields. So Sadhuputta has just joined, and Prabhupada he was at Atlanta, Georgia, at Atlanta Temple. So Prabhupada went to Atlanta, and he has a president. So that scientist, is he here? President said, yes. What is his engagement? The president said, we're engaging him to wash dishes. And Prabhupada responded that all that you know is to engage people in washing dishes. Send him to Bhakti Vasudeva Swami. He's a scientist. So this is something that we have to think about, appreciating what the qualities that people have, appreciating the talents that people around us have, and try to engage them accordingly so that there'll be cumulative productivity, cumulative high productivity in terms of the preaching mission. Yeah. So, any comments or questions?
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Thank you for the inconvenience. I'm still making time to be here. So, dear devotees, if anyone has a question, we also want to let devotees be aware that Maharaj doesn't have enough time, so he's not going to be here for much longer. Kavikanapur Prabhu, please unmute and ask your question.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Maharaj, thank you very much, Maharaj, for the wonderful lecture, Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances.
Gavin, Dandawat, I hope you're enjoying your Kenyan trip.
Yes, Maharaj, I was just about to comment about that, Maharaj. About
Okay.
you just mentioned about appreciating thinking, Maharaj.
Yeah.
And after coming to Nairobi, I can appreciate all the devotees have done here, because many years, for long I've been hearing people only come and talk, oh, they are not preaching to Africans, oh, they are not preaching to Africans and this. But they have done so much other things, Maharaj. So, like now, presently, I'm in Krishna Balaram farm. It's a wonderful farm, Maharaj, very wonderful farm. And this is what Prabhupada have been talking about in his books. So I don't know why we are not appreciating so that people can do more of the one they are not doing. But we only talk about the one they are not doing. So yes, Maharaj, thank you very much for bringing this topic up, about appreciative thinking, which is very, very important in our society, So I just want to appreciate that, Maharaj. Thank you very much, Maharaj.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you, Shri Kavikanapur. Ras Vilas Prabhu, please unmute.
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. This is Asad Mahamud. This is my first time listening to you. I was somehow late. I would love to express my sincere thanks to you for the instructive and then inspirational speaking. That's how I would term it. Maharaj, I have a question that I would love to know that in your delivery you said that we have to look at the good things that devotees are doing rather than looking at the backside. But in the course of leadership, if let's say a devotee is doing something the wrong way, are we in a position to maybe point out to the senior devotee, whoever it may be, that maybe this is not supposed to be done this way, like correcting the person, not in a wrong way, but drawing the person attention so that he can improve? I'm asking this question because Prabhupada has always spoken about quality, not quantity. So in order for us to have quality devotional service in everything we are going to do, let's say the person is chanting japa and he's maybe chanting offensively or even the less offensive position, and we want to encourage the person in that quest or in the process of correcting the person. Are we also committing an offense because we just have to look at the good aspects, just forget about that, the offense the person is committing, and just move ahead? Hare Krishna.
Okay, thank you very much. This is a very nice concerning question, because we may tend to hear something and we act completely on the opposite, because then we give a different interpretation. It's called hermeneutics. We give a different interpretation to what someone has said, or to what the acharyas have said, or to what Prabhupada have said. And then we get something completely different. So your question is very pertinent. It's very relevant to our talk today. And the idea is that when we see how Prabhupada would deal with situations to correct his devotees. Sometimes he will chastise somebody in the open, and sometimes it will go on for days, the same thing. But you see, Prabhupada, when he chastises even somebody, he has good intentions for the person. It's to purify the person. When we see something wrong in someone and then we try to address it, our intention in most cases is different, it's destructive. But if we have a positive thinking mindset, if we have a caring thinking mindset, a loving attitude towards that person, compassion towards that person, it is advisable that we correct people that can take the correction. And also our approach, there are two things, okay? Modus operandi and modus vivendi. Now, modus operandi is the operational mode. Modus vivendi is the manner. We see something, this person is not chanting all the syllables of the Mahamantra. So what do I do to correct him? Now, that question that we probe ourselves, how to be able to help him, is a proactive approach. And that is what is required. But if we just simply think, oh, let me quickly go and correct him, he thinks he knows too much. That is the mentality of mundane scholars. I remember I went to a conference one time, and that was when I was in Africa. I went to a conference in Nigeria, academic conference, and so that time I was pretty younger. so one of the organizers of the conference, one young professor, he came to call to beckon on us, the young scholars. He said, "Hey guys, come over here. Go to that hall. Professor Sosa Church is making his presentation. Go and find fault in his presentation. He thinks he knows too much." So if we bring that type of mindset into devotional service, we can just be killing our devotional culture, devotional values. And therefore, I remember, speaking to somebody, and because the person was a friend to me, and everybody else was afraid of talking to him, and what I did, I knew it was harsh. I spoke to him very harshly, but then I told him that, you see, people are complaining about this and this about you, so why don't you take some precaution and then make some adjustment? Now we have a problem of what we call psychological maladjustment. Maladjustment means that we have some problem and we don't want to be able to adapt to the environmental factors, or to the environment, or to the community factors. We want everyone else to adjust themselves to suit our purpose. That's not fair. That means the person is maladjusted. It's a psychological problem that is one of the root causes of all conflicts in the global society. The leaders are maladjusted. They think that they are right. But we are all prone to making mistakes. To err is human. And so when you find someone who is maybe doing something that is not proper, yes, if you are friendly to the person, you should approach him, but make sure you have a proactive mindset. Make sure your modus vivendi is that one that will suit that person's purpose, will placate his cause of spiritual elevation. Don't go with the idea of, let me go and correct him very quickly. Go with the idea, how can I help? And you can talk to him privately when he's happy, in a friendly mood. You may not even correct him at that instant time, but you can talk to him privately, especially if you're lovingly oriented towards him, like the person I was talking about. When I spoke to him very harshly, and what he told me, I was expecting that he would be hungry. But what he told me, he said, "Vasudeva, you're my friend. Whatever you tell me is okay." So people want to hear from their friends. And if you're friendly, whatever you say, they may take it. If you're not friendly, if you know that you've always been finding some trouble with him and you come to correct him, it will simply, increase the tension. And what you can do in such cases is that tell the problem to someone who is close to that person, or to a senior person who can approach it in a loving way, so that they can help to rectify the situation. It's not that we see something and we just keep quiet and, well, that is his problem. Can go to hell with it. No, it's our problem. We should be our brothers and sisters keepers. And even for your own child, we should not feel that, you know, we are the controllers, and so we keep on the mood of you know, just chastising. But we should do the corrections with a sense of loving feelings. Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Maharaj.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Maharaj. Salika Prabhu, please, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna. Is my voice clear?
Yes.
Maharaj, please accept my respectful greetings once again.
Hey, Salika, thank you very much for your wonderful services.
Thank you very much. We are made of your mercy. We spoke broadly today on two subjects, the importance of reading, and you talked also about appreciative thinking, which Gurudev will caption like attitude of gratitude. And just yesterday, we were discussing on this platform, and I was sharing with devotees that devotees' lack of reading in our movement today grossly has to do with the leadership, because some of us are beneficiaries of the kind-hearted leadership. And I was sharing that in the beginning days, how I personally was fortunate to be under your watch. And I remembered very vividly how you hide me in your office and tell devotees you're sending me somewhere just for me to be able to read Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita in your office. And so I was sharing to devotees that it depends on the compassionate mood and the type of leadership. So we're forever grateful for those foundational days, because it is what is making us what we have today in devotional service. Probably maybe we'll have even lived. So we thank you very much for giving us this kind of foundation in our devotional life.
Yeah.
Now, talking about the importance of reading and appreciative thinking, I'm looking at our movement today, generally. How do we balance our, because there is a general concern that we're not making devotees, we're not making new people to join the movement. Things are going down devotionally. People are even developing disinterest in devotional service. Some even are attracted to a Western philosophy, Christianity, Islam, even when they have tasted Bhakti, when they have tasted devotional service. So we're looking at all of these challenges. And since we're talking about reading, so I'm wondering, how do we, what role does our reading as devotees have to do or contribute to the present predicament we have, and how do we surmount it?
Yeah, that's a nice question, Salika Prabhu, because in the Gita Mahatmya, Lord Vishnu told Lakshmiji that the Bhagavad Gita is not different from him. So someone reading the Bhagavad Gita is the same puja that you do on the altar to Lord Krishna. So what does doing puja mean? You get purified. And what does reading Bhagavad Gita imply? That you get purified and you increase your knowledge domain. When you have a broad-based knowledge domain of a subject matter, that allows you to be able to appreciate what you have, and it motivates you to implement and to be able to use that spiritual information culture for a greater achievement of the bigger picture. And the more we stay on the fence, say the more we are inclined to not reading, the more we can easily become, so to say, dried up. We will not be motivated. Our chanting also, the quality of our chanting also will be decreased. So the reading, services, chanting, all of these things, going to the temple, visiting the holy dam, all of these things, they help us in our spiritual growth. And I remember when we joined, I remember the temple I joined, the first year I joined, there There was this devotee. He's now in the Gaudiya Math, Mr. Swami, and at that time we are forced to read for 1 hour in the morning. That was part of one of the schedules. Part of the schedule. We have to read. Everybody, no matter what, you have to read something in the morning. That's like we have the Japa period. There is an allotted 1 hour period for reading. So because people are not reading, and even the leaders are concerned about that, they are making things now very tough for especially people who want to become gurus, or people who want to become swamis. The ISKCON leadership is really like, buckling up their seatbelt to tighten up issues, because just to be able to motivate people to read. If you want to be a leader, you must be addicted to reading Srila Prabhupada's books, and that helps to expedite the process of purification. And when the process of purification is expedited, we can be rest assured that we become more motivated in preaching. Now, one of the things that that is like that could help in adding value to preaching and making of new devotees is that the leaders must have to preach. The leaders themselves must have to preach. If they are preaching, especially to local people, then when they tell their subordinates or the devotees in the temple to go and preach, I mean, they don't even need to tell them. They will just spontaneously want to go do that, because whatever a great, according to Lord Krishna, whatever the leader does, the followers will follow suit. So yeah, it is important that we reenact all of these processes or these very values in our society, and so as to be able to attract, so that first we'll be highly enthused in our devotional service. Each time you read and you get new realizations. So say you read Bhagavad Gita, you finish reading Bhagavad Gita, and you start reading it again. The same Bhagavad Gita, you get new ideas, new realizations. So you get more enthusiasm, you get more motivated in helping to spread the message of Lord Chaitanya. So it begins with us as individuals, and that basically will spread to the other members of our community, of our jurisdiction, because when they see those are the hem of affairs doing one thing, they would like to do, they would think that that is what is going to help to move them forward. So yeah, there are a number of things. And see, Kenya is progressing very seriously. Like Kavi said, people talk so much of, in the past, it's been like, talking so much of ill about Kenya, or they're not preaching to blacks and all those things. Now they have better achievements than any other place in Africa in terms of preaching to blacks. So yeah, so why don't other people, let's say in the West African zone, why don't your leader see this and then emulate? Oh yeah, there are so many skilled people there to do these wonderful things instead of going to Europe, I remember one time they were going to England, try to import people to come and do academic preaching program there. But there are so many skilled people there, and utility is the principle. Prabhupada said, you have been doing so much of academic preaching programs in the Jos area there for years. So recognition is also important. Even the demons, they recognize what value, they recognize the values of their members of their team. I remember before the war at Kurukshetra, at Duryodhan, he was praising all of his warriors. This person is here, this person is here, he's like this, he's like, we may say they're demons, but recognition is motivating. We cannot do everything. A number of us don't have the skills. A number of us just know how to chant Hare Krishna, but we don't have the skills. Why don't we recognize that and use the talents available there for high productivity? So that is something that could be considered. Yeah, we talk these things, but it falls on deaf ears, so what to do? All right, Salik, does that make some sense to your question?
Yeah,
Thank you so much. It does make a whole lot of sense. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much, Maharaj. Anyone else with any question?
All right.
All right, now I have a question, please.
Okay.
Like everyone is saying, thank you so much for the class and the presentation and the answers given to the questions. But I have a question I would like you to help me, and that is, yesterday Harichakra Prabhu was saying that oftentimes we emphasize on hearing Bhagavatam, hearing classes, but we do not talk much about speaking. Because if someone is eager to hear, but we do not have a qualified speaker, then it becomes the hearing not fully achievable. Now, the answer you gave to Ras Vilas, his question, it is like somebody trying to correct somebody. It is a fact, like you said, that the person correcting should do that as a service and also to see to it as to how he can help the person. What about the person being corrected? If the person being corrected already has animosity that no matter how the person approaches him or her, he or she is going to consider that this person is just out there to get me. So I think that is also a concern we have as human beings, because like you rightly said, if Salika Prabhu is a very good friend of mine, then no matter what he tells me, even if it appears to be offensive, I won't take it as offensive, because I know that he's saying that out of love for me. So I would like you to throw a little bit more light on that, because I think it's both ways.
First of all, it is important for us to understand that we are not in a position to be able to correct people. And second point is that we should be in a position to accept corrections, whether it is harsh or whether it is palatable or unpalatable, or whether we perceive the person as our enemy. We should be in a position to accept whatever he said, that this is to purify me. But unfortunately, we don't have that type of mindset. We don't have that type of understanding. So yeah, if we are biased, then it's always a problem, because we will always be we will always find fault with the person who is trying to help us. So having understood that some people could be reactive when we try to correct them, so we should first be in a position to be able to correct ourselves, and then others may see us as examples. First point. Second point is that if we notice that somebody is incorrigible, in quote, then we should get someone. If we find something wrong with the person or with what he said, we may not directly attack him. We should speak to somebody who is close to that person to talk to him or to talk to her. And that way, the ego, the false ego is busted. It's not going to be reactive because now his own friend, his own lovable object is the one talking to him, and it becomes a friendly dealing. Yeah, so there are ways to be able to deal with situations, and people are not. We see we have false ego, we are biased, and we are so much egocentric, and so someone may tell us what is best for us, and then we become reactive. And so to avoid any type of further complications, we should understand, we should study people around us and be able to identify who is acceptable to instructions, who is reactive to instructions, and we should deal with those matters accordingly. And that way, we are growing up to become ethical leaders. Yeah, even your own child, there are some children that are very reactive. So better you don't demoralize a child, because you are the parent and you can always just demoralize a child, and because you can also offend your own child. So if you are in a position, or if I'm in a position that the child perceives me to be too harsh, then I should tell my wife to talk to the child. Because see, we don't know who is who, And this moment is very delicate. It's very delicate. Someone may be around and we feel, oh, he's just a new person. He just came to this movement yesterday. But we don't know the carryover of the person. And so we should treat people with humility and care and loving attitude. And if we do that, if they sense that we are in a loving mood, then they will be more open to accepting corrections. If they sense that we are in an attacking mood, there will always be resistance to change. The major problem in change, in transformative change, is that you have to deal with resistance to change. Because people resist change. So, yeah, it's a major thing in change management. You try to correct people, there are people who are out there, just resistance to change. And so you should understand what their status quo is and see how best you are going to be able to help them, instead of getting into further complications of the conflict. Saha, does it make some meaning to you?
Yes, it definitely does. Well, that is why when we have people like you speaking, we ask these questions, because there are many things said in the scriptures. And when one just repeats what he or she has read in the scripture without giving deeper and practical meaning or explanation to what's been said, then it might be difficult to practice devotional service. Because there was one devotee, Srila Prabhupada disciple, I won't mention the name, who gave class on this platform, and also said the same thing, that who are you to correct? You cannot correct anybody. And then at some point in the lecture, a question came up, and then the same person said, no, you cannot sit to see things go wrong. You have to speak up. So we are in an institution that has been established by Srila Prabhupada, and he has given us principles, rules, and the regulations that we all need to follow.
Sure.
Now, if somebody is telling us that, who are you to correct? And then based on the teachings that you have learned in the same institution, things you can do, things you cannot do, and you see somebody do things he or she is not supposed to do, you have to tell yourself, who am I to correct? You sit there. And then what happens to the society? and that is part of the reason why probably we are not getting, excuse me to say, different parts of the world, I should say, we're not getting certain caliber of people. I just heard, like our dear brother, Bali Maharaj, he was pained because he wanted to see devotees behave in such a way that the devotional service could be presentable to the caliber of people he was dealing with. But devotees were not doing that. And I remember, like Gurudev, when he would come to Ghana, he will make sure, I wouldn't say Ghana, just West Africa in general, he will make sure that devotees dress and appear neatly. You don't go buy expensive things, but whatever little you have, dress neatly, because there are these fetish people who dress very much like devotees. Of course, he's Gurudev, so he can correct us. But if he's not there, and there is another devotee, seeing another devotee doing something wrong, and then he says, I cannot say anything because I might be committing offense. That is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah, Saha, I quite understand the point. Being exemplary is very, sorry, I think it's echoing. Being exemplary is it's a very nice idea. And just a minute, someone is making. Okay.
That's a Salika.
Okay. And being exemplary is one major thing. I remember somebody in the US, there was a program at one of these universities in the Maryland area, a memorial program for Gurudev. And one of these devotees made a very nice presentation. And but the people who came to that program, they were really like high profile people, ladies and gentlemen. And so during when this devotee, I want to mention the name, when this devotee made his presentation, one of these ladies, one of the hefty looking ladies, she said during question and answer, she said, look, you made a nice presentation, but look at how you dress. Yeah, America, they don't hide their feelings. They'll tell you, what we say, hoha. So yeah, I experienced that situation. So, and then the lady said, one of the things that made us to be attracted to Bhakti Vasudeva Swami is when he comes to the program, he dressed very, very attractively. He dressed in a very high profile way. And so, yeah, when we're dealing with people, we should understand that they evaluate us, especially these high profile people, they evaluate us by our appearance too, not only about what we say, but how we appear matters also to them. I remember when I was in Nigeria, where each time I went to go on Harina, I will examine the devotees who are putting on, even including their shoes. And if you're putting on the bedroom slippers, I'll send you back. Either you go and change or you just stay behind. Because it's a simple thing that we should appear simple, but at the same time, we should be very neat and presentable to the public. So I agree on that. And then the other point is about this very concept of again about correcting people. Yeah, if we have a chance to be able to correct people, like I mentioned, there is a modus operandi and there's a modus vivendi. The modus vivendi, the manner how we approach the problem is what basically can help to alleviate the situation. If we don't have those type of qualities of, Gurudev, he could tell you, I mean, Bhakti Vasudeva Swami, he could tell you, the most painful thing on earth, but in a very mild and loving way. And you realize, you will time in yourself, you got convinced that, oh, he loves me so much. Oh yeah, yeah. So the modus vivendi is so important in terms of how we approach people, how we try to help people, and how we try to correct situations. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Maharaj. Harichakra Prabhu, you may unmute.
Hare Krishna, Maharaj.
Hey, Chakra, I'm missing you so much.
Dandavat Pranam. All glories to you. All glories to Guru Maharaj. And all glories to Prabhupada. How are you, Maharaj?
I'm still on this planet. You're hearing my voice and you're seeing me. I'm still here. I'm still here.
Thank you very much for the class, Maharaj. My question, before I ask the question, I want to relate a devotee's experience in the late 80s. Achutananda, we had one devotee called Achutananda, and he was at the Nkoko temple. And during those days, he went out to preach. He went on Sankirtan, and he happened to meet a Christian preacher. The man demolished him like anything. The way the man spoke, Achutananda became so dispirited that he left the Sankirtan field. He did not continue distributing his books. He came back and was so quiet. Anybody asked him question, he would not even say anything. Then, and in the evening during Bhagavad Gita class, all the questions and all the arguments that the Christian preacher used against him to demoralize him, he had listed all those questions, and he was also bombarding the preacher. That time it was Lomash who was giving class. Achutananda was bombarding Lomash with all these questions and all these arguments, and Lomash counteracted all the arguments one by one. Amazingly, Lomash was also using the same biblical scripture to demolish the arguments Achutananda was bringing out. And amazingly, because Lomash was able to satisfy Achutananda's, what do we call it? Questions. The boy became so high-spirited that the whole night he was keeping awake. He was waiting for the day to break for him to go back to that man. So early morning, it was like around 7 a.m. Achutananda had packed his books. He was out on Sankirtan, and he went straight to the man's office, waited at the door till the man came to open his office, and he started showering his arrows to the man. Eventually, the man bought a book from Achutananda, and this way he became so like enlivened. Now he wanted to preach and preach and preach. So my question is, sometimes we see ourselves not being so enthusiastic in preaching because we are not properly armed. And so if we go out and we find someone defeating us, we become demoralized. So like Sade was mentioned that the other day I was asking the question about the speakers. Can you throw a little bit light about this thing for me? That if our speakers are able to relate our philosophy to our everyday life, what is happening to our everyday life, rather than to becoming more philosophical, is that not going to help us to be able to encourage us to go out and give our realizations to others, rather
Sure.
than to just go out there and rant philosophy and quote sloka Bhagavad Gita says it. Some of the people may even tell you, I don't believe in the scripture you are talking about. Then what do? So I want you to like explain a little bit and how we should always, present our philosophy in such a way that we can relate it to our day-to-day life.
All right, thank you very much, Chakra Prabhu. I quite relate to your question, and I remember someone telling me in Gitanagari how one of, I don't want to mention his name, but one of Saraswati Goswami's disciples, he told me how they were on a trip of distributing back to Godhead in Boston, and so they went to Harvard University car park. So he was carrying back to Godhead, and then he gave to this young man who had lighted from his car, and then the guy just turned to him. And keep in mind, this guy, he didn't go to college. I know he was going to try to preach to some professors. And then the professors are very puffed up people. So then this guy, this young professor, he just turned to him and said, "Don't you know I'm Harvard professor?" And he told me, this devotee told me, he was demoralized the whole day. He didn't distribute one single bag to God. So, it's the same thing with Achyutananda. He was demoralized. He was, completely taken aback by the questions or by the interactions. The response from this is anticipated client. And so, Achyutananda's case is a typical case where a devotee should be armed with knowledge, should be fully equipped with knowledge. How do you get that? From the scriptures, by reading, from Prabhupada's lectures, from the lectures of senior devotees, even from the lectures of your peers, even from the lectures of your so-called genius. Because you can learn even from your own child. And so there are certain things that we need to be able to do to have that equipment put in place. So reading should be there, and proper interactions also should be there. Like a young devotee is preaching, and they should have a mentor or somebody who is there to help them when they have some questions posed to them that they were not able to answer. They could just easily tell the person who is posing a question that, "I'll get back to you. I will find out from my seniors. I don't know that. I will find out from my seniors." There's nothing wrong in telling someone that your question, I'm not able to answer right now, but I'll find out more. I'll get more information and then I'll get back to you. We are not omniscient. And so, again, it boils down to good relationships. When we have good relationships, then that will facilitate the building up of our spiritual knowledge domain, because when we encounter any challenges in terms of during our preaching programs, we will be able to relate that or to share that challenge to the person who is mentoring us, to the person who is close to us, to the person that you hang out together with in the devotional community, and then they may have a better proposal on how to deal with the situation. So yeah, we have to improve in terms of our relationships. We have to get beyond the boundaries of simply being circumscribed to a few people, but we should broaden our network of relationships so that when we have any challenge, we have somebody to be able to, ask, and we get the proper answers. When we get disturbances, we have someone that will be able to inquiries or share that disturbance with and get some input and help us to move forward. Yeah. So this is a good scenario. And then talking about the person who is speaking, person who is speaking, we should also practice. I know that not everybody has that skill, but we find in the case of our spiritual master, Bhakti Vasudeva Swami Maharaja, that how he will use the scriptures to relate to everyday situation. It's called problem-solving type of preaching. Now, if we use the scriptures to address problems, basically we are dealing with a very high-profile, problem-solving oriented type of preaching. And so, because people want to see how we are addressing their needs. So if we're saying something or we're making some presentation and it's based on the needs of the people. First, when we are speaking, we have to see what's the need of this audience. I mean, like I go to temples or I travel to places and then they ask me to come and give class or come and give a presentation. First of all, I'll ask the manager there, what are the needs of your members of your community, so that we will figure out how to be able to tailor the talk to address their needs. So when that is in place, and it takes some skills, we have to learn. We can learn that from other people who are very expert in doing that. And we can learn a lot also from Bhakti Vasudeva Maharaja's books. He uses these same skills and talent in trying to help people using the scriptures or the philosophy, the Vaishnava philosophy, the Gaudiya Vaishnava technologies in addressing family issues, official, professional issues, and devotional issues. So yeah, it's important. Now, what you said is very important, that we should use our philosophy to address people's problems. It's basically problem-solving oriented type of preaching. It's more effective. It touches people, and then they may wonder whether you have whether you read minds. I mean, I remember I went to Pittsburgh some years ago to give some talk. One devotee invited me, and when I gave some talks, I remember one lady, she came to me and said, "Do you read minds?" I said that. I said, that's not what Prabhupada taught us. Prabhupada never taught us to read minds, We speak and we pray to Krishna that what we say, what we have to say in the class should be something that could be helpful to the audience. So yes, it is important that we touch people's heart when we are talking, and that comes a long way to be able to help in leveraging the community that we are operating in. All right, thank you very much. I would like to take a leave from now because my time is already fast spent.
Oh, okay. Ganga Prasad had his hand up, but okay. So, Ganga Prasad, maybe some other time, we're sorry. So at this point, we're going to humbly request all the devotees to kindly unmute, and then we chant the Lord's Hare Krishna Mahamantra to express our appreciation for Maharaj's presence here and guiding us through the waters of Srimad Bhagavatam. Jai. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare Hare.
Thank you.
Vasudeva Swami Maharaja ki jai.
Thank you for the opportunity to come and hang out with you guys.
Thank you, Maharaj, for breaking our